everybody. We are super excited to be here tonight. And even more than that, it's truly an honor to be a part of this Elmwood revitalization and bringing good ideas to the city of Dallas. So, this is us. And this is our group. Maybe if you guys can step over a little. This is Mark, who's our leader, and Lyle. And Whitney might be out there somewhere, I'm not sure. And I'm Christina Morgan. Do you know where the Heart of Oak Cliff is? You may have heard that saying before, but the Oak Cliff Advocate magazine actually dubbed Elmwood with this slogan, and they've been using it ever since. And we think it's pretty cool. So to set the framework here, our challenge is to figure out some ways to improve the underused commercial space. And so Mark is actually going to tell you about some of our challenges.
Thank you. So the challenges that we identified are kind of three-pronged. There are code violations and absentee owners, a lack of vibrancy and identity, and inadequate traffic control. But before we go into those too much, let's take an aerial look at this district. So the yellow you see is single-family homes, and inside of that you see blue, which is institutional. These are churches, a Masonic temple, and a school actually. But primarily we're focusing on the red part, which is the commercial district, commercial or community retail oriented. And because of somewhat the unique layout of the roads, there are actually 4 little green spaces that kind of corner the district itself, the commercial district. And this is just one of the strips within the district. You can actually see one of the few restaurants within there, La Fondita, and then 2 charming yet underused vacant commercial storefronts right next to it. So challenge 1, absentee owners and enforcing code. Code violations are prevalent throughout the district. For instance, there's a 3-car garage that at one time had 32 cars parked in front of it. And even worse than that, you have absentee owners that some are just letting their building and the project deteriorate. That, in addition to graffiti and tagging, which is so prevalent as to be the first issue discussed at neighborhood meetings, has created quite a few eyesores. Challenge number 2. Though the homes are gorgeous around there, 20s and 30s cottages, Tudor style, very similar to the M Streets, not too far from here, the business district itself seems worn down and just generally tired. On top of that, my grandparents' first home was actually in Elmwood, and I wasn't really familiar with the district until I started working on this project. So that kind of hints at the fact that the identity is somewhat lost in other parts of Dallas, despite its charm. In part because the slogan, the Heart of Oak Cliff, is underused. And then finally, you have inadequate Edgefield traffic control. You have, basically, it's an emergency route for the city, so you can't use the speed bumps or stop signs or other traditional yet cheap methods of slowing transportation, and it's really more of a thoroughfare than a destination as a result. So we need to get kind of creative with how we solve those, which brings us to the fun part of how do you get creative and solve these. So the residents are already paying their taxes to the city of Dallas, yet code is not necessarily being enforced. Throw in the fact that the fines are levied is actually a revenue generator for the city, and it's a no-brainer that step 1 is to start to crack down on some of those code violations. On top of that, downtown Dallas being Exhibit A, absentee owners, when forced to bring buildings up to code, are forced to become involved or become invested in their property or sell it to somebody that will be. And actually one of the most notable examples of that was in 2008, the Statler Hotel, which is now being redeveloped as a massive residential project, was owned by somebody that was letting it deteriorate. So on that note, I'm going to hand it over to Lyle, who's going to discuss some of the other graffiti issues.
As Mark said, one of the things in the neighborhood, recently neighborhood meeting group, Elmwood had commented that graffiti was a strong problem. And graffiti's existed since the days of Egypt and ancient Rome. I think you had to walk around with a hammer and a chisel back then. Now it's easier Some areas of the country, graffiti is a very serious problem. Some areas, it's actually been pulled into a quasi-legal status. What we were thinking is maybe you could take graffiti and kind of try to channel that energy. So that could be a destructive thing, but maybe channel it and see if you could engage the artistic community from the graffiti side to maybe start doing something where we had a structure somewhere in a common area of town, inexpensive structure that could hold graffiti and present a tableau, as it were, for graffiti artists to come out and do their work for an hour or two, or maybe lasts a few days. And also incorporate some social media in there by putting a QR code-based little stamp or a platform there for a QR code on the structure itself, to where graffiti artists would come along and hit this thing as they would with their artwork, take a photo of it, load it up to Facebook, for instance, and also then have links coming back to Elmwood in terms of not only the community, to the neighborhood association, but also to restaurants and things like that. It's possible that this thing going viral could take what could be a kind of a destructive behavior and really champion it and enable artists of all sorts to maybe hit this location for self-satisfaction, for maybe they just want to get in the spirit of it. But we think it's something that could enlarge Elmwood beyond that. Another thing we're looking at is community engagement, retailtainment, guerrilla-style marketing, where maybe a company, let's say right here we're showing a retail product, might want to go in and partner with a local retailer, possibly a grocery store or something, do a demo, product demo, where you bring people in from the neighborhood. You also might have music, bands, that kind of thing. You could have school involvement for things that are more appropriate for school children and that kind of thing. Temporary retail, basically. Civic and other activities. But here, for instance, we're showing the parking lot in front of the, what is this called? The Sonic Temple, I'm sorry. Masonic, not Sonic. Masonic Temple. Sonic is we want Sonic to come in here and be great. Food trucks, things like that, and so you have those kind of events where you have, again, people coming out and experiencing the street. One thing that needs to be looked at also are the infrastructural items that could be improved at low cost. Maybe a sign that could be put up, like a styled sign like the METCD thing, where you're announcing areas of the neighborhood, putting inexpensive kind of tombstoning, maybe the north and south ends of Edgefield with something like that. Here's an example of a parklet. There are numerous little, I think 4 or 5 of these areas up and down Edgefield where they're just kind of medians or off areas between boulevards, where you could take something like yucca and stone and a recycled material park bench and inexpensively put that in. And in terms of branding and beautification, again, taking the heart of Oak Cliff and trying to champion that. That's a tag that's really got a lot going for it, and that's something that might become a very useful service mark, trademark, and be able to expand beyond. And I want to say that we think the Elmwood Neighborhood Association is doing a great job with their website in terms of what they're doing in their meetings and keeping things up. Third solution, trying to maybe help in terms of traffic. There are 2 DART stations nearby. There are multiple bus stops running up and down Edgefield. If the city was able to get involved, possibly DART's also doing some things. We're putting new call 411 signs at our bus stops, so a person there can actually text 411 to DART, find out when the next bus is arriving. So if some of these things were looked at in terms of, again, redoing crosswalks and so on, bike lanes, there might be an opportunity there to make Edgefield seem like more of a destination than rather just a boulevard to speed to.
So if you got excited about any of these ideas, we ask you to fill out the form to pledge with us, even if, as Alyssa said, it's just your time, your resources, whatever. We're really excited about this, and we